Hi, my name is Keith McGill, and I'm the Chief Pilot here at Lewis University. I wanted to be one of the first ones to welcome you into our program. We're excited to have you here as one of the newest members of our Flyer family. Whether you come to us as a recent high school graduate or you're transferring in from another college, I think you're going to find that a professional pilot program has a few more elements involved with the planning process, and I'm hoping this video can help you with your transition into our program. I doubt I'm going to be able to answer all of your questions, so in the very end slide is my contact information. Please feel free to call or email me at any time, and I'll help you any way that I can. The next step in your process of matriculating into Lewis is going to be doing your summer advising. You're going to be meeting with one of our advisors. It could be me or one of our other professors, and we're going to pick out your schedule for the fall semester. The anchor, or the first piece of your fall schedule, is going to end up being your flight block. Your flight block is the time that you meet with your flight instructor and fly to become a pilot. Our flight blocks are either Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and they're scheduled for a 3-hour period of time. So your flight block for the fall will be assigned to you just based on our availability, but keep in mind every semester the time at which you fly can change based on whatever your academic needs are. So once we know when your flight block is meeting, we will then build classes around that. All told, we're looking for you to have around 5 classes or 15 credit hours when we get done with the advising process itself. One of the things that you will need to accomplish, if you haven't done so yet, is you will need to pass an FAA flight physical exam. Now, don't worry, it's not a rigorous exam where you're on a treadmill hooked up to wires, because let's face it, I wouldn't be able to pass one if we're running on a treadmill. And there's no blood draw either. It's a routine exam, checking blood pressure, checking your vision, checking your hearing, making sure you're not colorblind. A lot of the information is just from the actual application itself. So they'll ask you about any medications that you've been taking that are over the counter or prescribed. Also looking to see if you have any diabetes or any other kind of heart issues. If you've had a previous cancer, I have seen it where it might take a little bit of follow-up information from your doctor before the medical examiner is able to issue you your medical. So if you have any of those things that you feel might delay the process, I would certainly recommend getting your medical sooner than later so your pilot training doesn't get delayed. Now, there are 3 different classes of medical exam. There's a first class, a second, and a third. Not all medical examiners can do a first class medical, so it just depends on where you live. The only medical that you'll need for Lewis is just a third class medical. However, when you leave Lewis and go out into industry and become a professional pilot, you will need to be able to pass a first class medical. So we recommend, and it's just a recommendation only, but we recommend that you go for a first class medical on your first one just to make sure that you can pass it. I would hate for you to pass a third class medical, go through all this training only to find out there is something limiting you from being able to reach your dreams. On the bottom of the slide is a website that will help you find a medical examiner in your area. If you have any questions about the medical or are having a difficult time finding an examiner, please reach out to me and I'll help you any way that I can. Another requirement before we can do any pilot training is meeting TSA requirements. If you are a U.S. citizen, you need to verify your citizenship before we can do any pilot training. Now, that verification can occur one of 2 ways. You can either bring us a government-issued photo ID like your driver's license or state ID, along with your birth certificate. So that's one method. A second method would be just providing us with your U.S. passport. Regardless of which of those you choose, we're just going to make a photocopy of those documents and give them right back to you. If you aren't a U.S. citizen, the TSA actually requires that you complete a background check. The background check is primarily online, but it also has fingerprints involved as well, and can take up to, if not more than, a month for the TSA to process. So if you aren't a U.S. citizen, please reach out to me via email and let me know, and I will share all that information for you so you can start the background process as soon as possible. Now, at Lewis, we've got a lot of pilot training to do in a very short period of time, so we need to make sure that you are making progress at an efficient rate. The first certificate that you'll be working on, unless you already have it completed, is going to be your private pilot certificate. And in my opinion, it's probably one of the tougher ones because you're starting from 0 and going up to being a pilot. And there's a lot of information that you have to learn. In order for you to stay on track, it's important that we get you finished with your private pilot certificate by the beginning of your third semester. What that means, if you're starting in the fall of 2020, we need you to be done with your private pilot certificate by the fall of 2021 in order for you to stay on target. Keep in mind, we fly during the summer, which is 4 months of the best weather. In the event that you're still working on your private pilot certificate into that third semester, you may not be able to continue in our flight program. That's the last thing that we want to have happen, and we're going to be working really hard to keep you on track. I just want you to realize as you come into our program that the pilot training is not something that we can slack on. We're gonna hit the ground running, and it's going to be a sprint all the way through till we get you to the end. Now, if you do have that private pilot certificate completed before you come to Lewis, great news. You can bypass our private pilot ground school 1, 2, and our private pilot lab. In order to do that, you do have to have your private pilot certificate completed, not just the knowledge exam, but the actual certificate completed. And you also need to pass our private pilot oral exam. Now, the passing of that exam will actually begin, sometime during the first couple of weeks of the semester. And I do have a study guide for you to help prepare. So if you're planning on having your private pilot certificate completed by the first day of school, please send me an email and I will forward you the study guide, and that'll help you prepare for that bypass exam. And if you are doing some pilot training, but let's say you can't get it finished for a lot of different reasons, you still will have to take the private pilot ground school 1 and 2, but we will pick up your pilot training wherever you left off with your other flight school. If you feel this is going to be the case for you, reach out to me in early August, and then based on where you are with your pilot training, we can kind of come up with a plan on how we're going to transition you into our program. As you fly at Lewis and you incur flight instructor fees and you incur aircraft rental costs, all of that is put onto your flight account. So you have an account for your tuition, your room and board, and you also have a separate account which is just for your pilot training activity. Now, you can put money into your flight account several different ways. For starters, you can go to the business office and you can transfer money from any one of your other accounts. You can go to the business office to make a payment, or you can go online and make a payment into your flight account. And that third one is probably the most common one that our students will do. If you wanted to do an online payment, and once you sign up for classes this summer, we're going to create the flight account for you. There's nothing else that you need to do. But if you wanted to put a payment onto your flight account, go to the website that I have here on the slide. It's lewisu.afford.com. When you go to that site, this is what the opening page looks like. It's going to ask you to log in. Do not log in. I repeat, ignore the temptation to log in where it says to. Instead of logging in, scroll down to the bottom of this page and you'll get to a spot where it says make a payment. On the right-hand side, from the drop-down, just simply select Flight Account and complete the process from there. You can make a payment from a bank account or using a credit card online. If you do make the payment using a credit card, there is going to be a small transaction fee associated with that. The pilot training costs are in addition to tuition, and we tell our students to budget for around $9,000 to $10,000 per semester. The good news is you can receive financial aid for this pilot training. So if you plan on taking out loans to help pay for your pilot training, please reach out to our financial aid office and start that process sooner than later. It could take 1 or 2 weeks for the application and approval process to occur. Lastly, we do have a statement of understanding, which has a lot of the same information that I've covered in this video. We will be sharing the statement of understanding with you through the process of registering. We want to be as transparent as possible, and we want to avoid any surprises of, oh, I didn't know that, or we weren't told that. So in the statement of understanding, it talks about the flight training costs, it talks about the training needs, about keeping you on schedule, about the TSA and the flight medical as well. If you have any questions at all about our flight training program or even about Lewis, please feel free to reach out to me with the contact information below. If it's a question about housing or financial aid or something that's not really my expertise, I will reach out to those people on campus who do have that expertise and get that answer for you. So again, welcome to Lewis University. We're glad to have you here, and please consider me a resource. I look forward to working with you in the future.